Your Chimo greetings. Just making sure people can get in. Give me 1 second. I just want to make sure people are getting in into the section they can see and hear clearly. All right. Okay, so your Chimo greetings. Yedase. That means thank you. I'm Odwirafo Kwesi Randempata Khan, Odwirafo of Akwamumine, Amaruka, Etifimudi Akwamu Nation in North America within Odwiramine, the purified nation, Afurakani, Afurakaini people, African Black people in the Western Hemisphere. So we want to give an update for those of you who have checked out the last few streams that we've done. We're having our KANKYE, Conjure Film Festival that's coming up in November. It's our first annual. We have early bird tickets. So what we're going to be doing is showcasing films in the Conjure genre. And the reason why we have Sinners here and KANKYE, of course, Sinners is very popular. They put hoodoo basically on the map. Now our people are interested in ancestral religion preserved in our blood circles in North America. This is the work that we have been doing for the past almost 30 years and so forth. We've had our annual conferences since 2016, so-called 2016. We've had our Hoodoo Mind, Hoodoo Nation festivals. We had the 11th annual this past October. We have our annual Ancestral Religious Reversion Conference in March. This will be the 11th annual as well and so forth, where we delve into the various forms of ancestral religion we preserved in our blood circles in North America for the past 300 plus years since we were forced into the Western Hemisphere. So the hoodoo tradition, the voodoo tradition, the juju tradition, the wanga tradition, the gola tradition, Galengichi, Grigri, Juba, Juk, and so forth, these various expressions of ancestral religion, which are all preserved from our ancient ancestral cultures intact. So for example, of course, the voodoo tradition is the Ewe tradition. People are kind of familiar with that. The juju tradition in North America is actually the Yoruba tradition preserved in North America under the Yoruba term juju. The hoodoo tradition is the Akan ancestral religion from the Akan ethnic group of Ghana and Ivory Coast, preserved in North America. The Gela and Geechee traditions are the Gola and Kitsi traditions from Sierra Leone, today's Sierra Leone, preserved in North America. So whenever we have these different traditions, they are actually ethnic identity identifiers. We're identifying our ethnic group as well as our ancestral religion. So we have films in that genre. We've produced 2 documentary films. We have Black filmmakers who are independent filmmakers submitting films. So you're going to see a number of different films dealing with different aspects of the Conjure tradition, ancestral religion born of our blood circles in North America, specifically in North America, different films on the Conjure tradition. So when you look at a film like Sinners and they touched on hoodoo, it wasn't, deeply immersed in the tradition. But of course, Annie is the, one of the main characters and so forth, and she's preparing the mojo bag and so forth. Let's look at that and we'll give you some insight into the kind of information you're going to see when you come and, participate in the film festival. You can participate in person. You can come to Washington, D.C. on the weekend of November 7th. You can, get prepared for that and so forth. You have enough time to get prepared for that. Or you can check out the live stream. You can, get tickets and come to the live stream, wherever you are in the world and so forth. And you'll be able to see these various Conjure films from various independent Black filmmakers. You'll have the question and answer session and the panel discussions with the filmmakers and so forth. If you come in person, we have, vegan food and a number of different activities going on all day, November 7th. But let's look at this just to give you an example. Some information we brought forward in our hoodoo film that we released a couple of years ago, and it's on this channel. You can watch that hoodoo film for free, full documentary. You can also watch our other film, Amarukafu Adibisa, African American Ancestral Divination, here free on this channel. So the Hoodoo Akan Ancestral Religion in North America, as well as the Ancestral Divination film, both of them are free on this channel. But one of the things that we brought forward, and just to give you an example, let me pull this out. Okay. Give you an image real quick. All right. So what you see in the middle, hold on a second. Let me expand it just a little bit. Okay. Okay, so what you see in the middle is you see, the typical looking mojo bag, typically a red flannel bag and so forth. Hold on one second. Let me grab this right quick. Okay. So it's typically you see when you look at the mojo bag, it's typically a red flannel bag, and you see that in the middle. Now, where does the mojo bag come from? What is its purpose and so forth? So it comes from the Akan tradition, from the Akan ancestry religion and language. So the primary largest ethnic group in Ghana and Ivory Coast is the Akan people. There are about 30 million Akan people between Ghana and Ivory Coast, one of the largest groups on the continent, and one of the largest groups from whom many of us were taken and forced into North America. Just like there were many Yoruba from Nigeria, today's Nigeria, many people from the Congo and so forth, many people from today's Senegal and Gambia, but there were many people taken from the Akan tradition, Igbo as well, but from the Akan ethnic group, many of us were forced from that group. And those of us who were forced over here from that group, we maintained our ancestral religion under the Akan term Undu, which means medicine from roots, trees, and plant life. It also means to become heavy with the spirit through spirit possession and spirit communication. So we maintained Undu, later to be called Hoodoo. That's the Akan tradition. When you look in the Akan tradition and the various terms like mojo and jackball and haint spirits, we talked about the haint in a previous broadcast. When you heard Annie talking about haints, that comes from the Akan language as well. So any term you find in the Hoodoo tradition, go for doctor, go for dust, Johnny Conqueror, and so forth, all of those are Akan words. They have the same meaning in the Akan ancestral religion and language in Ghana and Ivory Coast that they have in North America because we simply preserved our traditions. The same is true with the mojo bag and so forth, or the mojo hand. So in the middle, you see the red typical mojo bag. So what does it mean and where does it come from? When we look in the Akan language, let me just expand this a little bit. You see this term moja, which means blood. And then you also see the term abusia, which means family or clan. Now, the term moja, meaning blood, is also the term for specifically a talisman associated with the blood. When we say we are blood related in Akan culture, we're talking about the abusia, specifically the abusia kuo. There are 7 great matric clans in Akan culture. There were 7 great ancestresses, 7 sisters going back in ancient times. And those 7 sisters had children and so forth. If you cannot trace your descent, spirogenetic descent to one of those 7 women, then you're not Akan. All of the 30 plus million Akan people between Ghana and Ivory Coast, all of them fit within one of those 7 groups, which are 7 great clans. There are millions of people within each one of the 7 clans, and collectively it's over 30 million people. Same thing for Black people in North America who are descended from Akan people. We're descended from one of those ancient ancestral mothers, and they are governed by the 7 Abosom divinities, female deities. In Akan, Abrewa Nani Mba, the elderest woman and her children. That's a constellation that the whites call the Pleiades. But those 7 female divinities animate that 7-part star system. And those 7 female forces in creation, that's their stellar shrine, but the 7 female forces in creation, they animate and govern the 7 clans. And the energy that governs each clan is carried by every individual. So just like you have, mitochondrial DNA from your mother, and you have certain attributes and certain things in your phenotype that represent people from that clan, genetic, stamps on you and so forth. The energetic force that animated the ovum is the matriclan deity. It's a female divinity, a female force. Just like the masculine force that animated the sperm cell is the patriclan divinity. So in our Kan culture, of course, we understand we have a sperm and ovum and so forth that unite to create the embryo, but the spiritual force that animated the ovum, that's a feminine force, that's the matriclan deity, as we call the Abusia boson. On the patriclan side, the spiritual force that animated the sperm cell, that's been protecting the patriclan ancestresses and ancestors for thousands of years, that's a male divinity and so forth. That's the Toro boson, or the Eja boson, the father's deity. And then you have the Abusia boson, or the Tom boson, the matriclan deity. When we talk about being related by blood, since it's a matriarchal and matrilineal or matricircular society, when we talk about blood relations, we're talking about the matriclan. The right to rule comes from the mother's side. You're descended from the mother's side. You're from your mother's clan, not your father's clan. So if you have a woman who's part of the Asona matriclan, and she meets a man who's part of the Brietuo matriclan, and they get married, and they have a child, whether it's a male or a female, the child is from the Asona clan, the mother's clan. The child is not from the father's clan, the Brietuo clan. The child is identified in society as part of the matriclan, and his blood relatives are from the matriclan. That's what's important. So when we talk about the matriclan, which is key, the term is identity, phenotype, energetic disposition, and so forth, there are certain ritual elements that are associated with the matriclan. One of them is the matriclan blood talisman. And that blood talisman that carries the blood of the matriclan is the moja talisman. Moja means blood. So you see that here. We're blood related through the matriclan. So when you invoke a divinity and that spiritual force takes up residence in the talisman and infuses that talisman with energy, just like you can charge up a battery and so forth, and now it has enough energy to power your phone and so forth. We have a talisman. We invoke the divinity. That energy is infused within that talisman and is quote unquote charged up, and we can utilize that to protect ourselves from negative projections, bring a healing effect and so forth, realign us spiritually. This is what we're talking about. But it carries the energy of the matriclan that you're born under. If you're from the Asona clan, it carries the energy of the Asona clan mother and the divinity that governs the Asona clan. If you're a child of the Brietuo clan, it carries the energy of the Brietuo clan, that clan mother, all those clan ancestresses and ancestors, and the divinity that governs that clan. So whichever clan you're from, when you make a talisman associated with that, you're invoking the matriclan divinity, the mother's divinity, connected through the mother's moja, or the mother's blood. The blood is a magnet for the spiritual force that protects the clan members and so forth. So when we make a talisman, a bag, we put ritual implements in the bag and so forth, and they're charged up spiritually. Physiologically, there's a blood bag that's a mojo bag. Inside of the womb of the woman, there's the endometrium. That's the lining of the uterus that's shed during menstruation. That is a red blood bag. It's a moja bag. Akan, moja means blood, but specifically matriclan blood, ovulatory blood, and so forth. So it's a moja bag. The endometrium is literally a physiological red lining, which is a bag inside of the woman that's shed during menstruation and so forth. That is the moja bag. When we came to North America, we began to pronounce moja. We began to mispronounce it slightly, just like in the Akan language, we have the term nana, N-A-N-A, nana, That means grandmother or grandfather, specifically elder or elders. It's gender neutral. So instead of saying grandma Kwesi or grandfather or grandma, Akosua or grandfather Kwesi, you say Nana Kwesi or Nana Akosua or Ama and so forth. This is how it's pronounced. Nana, Nana. Now, of course, when you get to America, and if someone has a grandmother and they say Nana, it's Nana, but instead of saying Nana, Nana, we say Nana. The A at the end of English words is pronounced like an If someone from Ghana says they come and they're visiting North America, you say, hey, I heard that you're from, the western part of the continent. Where are you from? And they say, well, my name is Kofi, and I'm from Ghana. And Ghana is spelled Ghana. If you hear that, and then you turn to your friend and say, this is Kofi, and he's visiting from Ghana. You didn't say what he said. He said, I'm Kofi, and I'm visiting from Ghana. And you said, this is Kofi, and he's visiting from Ghana. Ghana, N-U-H, because you're so accustomed to saying na when you see an A at the end of an English word. We're not accustomed to having A or AH being ah. So we'll read G-H-A-N-A, Ghana, and we'll say Ghana. We'll see Nana, and we'll say Nana. We say Moja, and we say Moja. So when we said we had a Moja bag, we were saying we had a Moja bag. That's the proper pronunciation. When we pronounce it in English, we're learning English and so forth. Instead of saying Ghana and Nana and Moja, we're saying Ghana, Nana, Moja. And when white ethnographers came around and said, what is this ritual practice that you're making, red bags and so forth? We say this is a Moja bag. They started writing a Moja bag, M-O-J-U-H, or M-O-J-O, and saying a Moja bag, and it became pronounced a mojo bag. But in reality, it is a moja bag. It's a blood bag. You have a ritual implement. You take this bag, you put ritual implements inside, they're ritually charged up and so forth, connected to the matriclan divinity, connected to your blood and so forth, and then you utilize that ritually. No different than the endometrium, the lining of the uterus. There's ritual implements placed inside that, which is the ovum. If the ovum is fertilized, then of course, the baby develops within the womb, and 40 weeks later, the baby is born. If the egg is not fertilized, then eventually it is passed out of the body. But that red blood bag inside of the woman has a deposit within it, which is the ovum, including the fertilized ovum and so forth. We replicate that by taking a moja bag or a mojo bag, putting ritual implements connected to the matriclan divinity, and you use that for healing and spiritual cultivation, realignment, and so forth. So that's what we're looking at when we're talking about the mojo bag, and so forth. Now, that's all Akan cosmology. Same term, same function that you find in the Hoodoo tradition in North America. When you look in the Akan tradition in Ghana and Ivory Coast, you see the same function, same term, same ritual practice, and so forth. Now, to go a little bit further, if you look at in ancient Khanid and Kemet, this female divinity is called Sekhmet or Sechimet. In Akan, she's called Sechima. She's a lioness-headed divinity, sometimes shown with the head of a lioness, sometimes shown as a lioness in total. That's her sacred animal totem, but it's a female force in creation. She's a warrioress and a healeress. Her shrine in the body is the lymphatic system, because she's that's a law enforcement structure and so forth. So she's a warrioress, spilling blood through warfare, but she also governs menstruation, because that's a cleansing process. It's a purification process. So she can spill blood through warfare, but she also spills blood through menstruation. And the word for menstruation in Akan culture is asechima, And that's also the name of the deity. Sechima, in ancient Kemet, that's Sechimat or Sechimet or Sekhmet, the same divinity in ancient Kemet. Sekhmet governs war on the feminine side, but she also governs menstruation. In our Khan culture, Sechima, the abosom, the divinity, governs war and so forth, the lymphatic system, but she also governs menstruation. So it's the same divinity operating through the planet Abina, which is so-called Mars, the red planet, the planet of war and fire, iron, and so forth, defense. She's the feminine force that governs that planet. And of course, you have the male force that governs that planet, who's called Bena. But this is the same divinity who governs menstruation. One of her titles, let's look at her title. I'm going to flip this over right quick. And this is important as far as an intricate detail, which proves the point even further. Okay. That's our KANKYE page, but you look at our Akradin Bosom webpage, we have a chart. In our Khan culture, the day of the week that you're born is an indication of what divinity you were assigned to pre-incarnation. So your spirit was assigned to a certain force in nature, and then you're sent into the world on the day of that divinity. If you look at Tuesday, Tuesday is called Benada and Abinada, governed by the planet Bena or Abina, which is so-called Mars. We show the Akan sacred ritual statuary here of those two divinities, male and female. In ancient Kemet, that's Herubedeti and Sekhmet. In your body, that's the lymphatic system and the immune system. So when we study the forces in nature in ancestral religion, within Afurakani, or African ancestral religion, we're also studying biology. We're studying astronomy. We're studying geology. We're studying every facet of creation. So they govern Tuesday, which is Benada, the day of the planet Bena, Abina, misnomered Mars, and so forth. Lymphatic and immune system, the warrior and warrioress. Your lymphatic system and your immune system are the warrior and warrioress in your body, the law enforcement structure, the defense structure, and so forth in your body. They have the same function in creation as they're maintaining divine order by destroying disorder and so forth. But let's look at one of her titles. Each one of the days of the week, you'll see this chart and you'll see the names. So for example, if you're born on Awusida or Kwesida or Sunday, you see the deity is Awusi for the male, Essi for the female. That's Awusir in Akan, which is Alsar. But Awusi in Akan, Alsar in ancient Kemet, Essi. The female day name or soul name, if you're born on Sunday, is Akosua, or in certain dialects, they would say Essi, Akosua, Akosua, or Essi. If you're a male born on Sunday, it's Kwesi or Akwesi, different variations of that title. If you're born on Monday, Joda, which is Monday, the female child born on Monday is Ajoa, because she's a child of the female divinity Ajoa, the spiritual force animating the moon and so forth. The male is Kwajo, or sometimes Kojo, that is an Akan name, dealing with the male force that governs the moon. Ajoa is the female force that governs the moon. When you look at Benada, Tuesday, the male and female divinities are Abena and Bena, as we just showed. A female born on Tuesday is Abena. A male born on Tuesday is Kwa Bena. And of course, if you've seen, so each day of the week, you see these different titles. If you heard of somebody named Kofi, that's because they were born on Fida, which is Friday. The female is Afua or Afia. So every day of the week, Kwame is Saturday for the male, Ama is for the female, and so forth. But we also have praise names, certain titles that pull out a certain spiritual attribute when you say those sound vibrations. A praise name for a Sunday born, as you can see, is Bodria. And the same thing for the male, Bodria for the female, Bodria for the male. Bodria, for example, means the animal's tail. So it's you see them, a king walking around waving an animal's tail and so forth. It's a symbol of sovereignty and ritual protection. So that's a title or a praise name for someone born on Sunday. A Kwesi can also be called Bodria, the animal's tail, the animal's whisk, the one who has certain kinds of authority. Now, if you look at, so you see that Bodria for the male, Bodria with 2 A's for the female and so forth. But now let's get down to Abena. Female born on Tuesday, she's an Abena. She's a child of the female divinity Sechima, who is also called Abena, which is Sekhmet, governs the immune system, lymphatic system, and so forth. What is her praise name? She can be called Jama, the passionate one, compassionate, meaning the fire within. But she's also called Atobia. Atobia is the feminine. On the male side is Kwabena. And then you also have Atobi. But on the female side is Atobia, and the A is a feminine suffix. But the root is Tobi, and then A means the female Tobi, as opposed to Atobi can be the masculine. Atobia is the feminine. So what is that? Why is that significant? In fact, let me go back out. The female divinity, Sekhmet, the warrioress goddess who spills blood through menstruation as well as through warfare, ritual cleansing of the body through menstruation, the ritual cleansing of society through warfare to get rid of the negative individuals to preserve divine order. In the physical body, the immune system destroying cancerous cells and other negative bacteria to purify the body, to maintain the order. This is why you have a lymphatic system and so forth. It's about preservation of divine order. You need a military force to destroy those who will come in and destroy the disorder, whether it's in your society, you have criminals and people trying to invade your country, you have a military force, you have a military force in the body, constantly having bacteria bombarding your body, but you have a lymphatic system that will preserve the integrity of divine order. And internally for the woman, they have that cleansing, purification process every month. And she spills blood through menstruation, but spills blood through warfare. She's a healeress in that context, on the defensive side. She's Sekhmet in Kemet, or Sechimet in Akan, Sechima, that's how it's pronounced. She's also Abena in Akan, and in Kemet, she's the one who governs the city of Bedat, which is ancient Bedat, also called Edfu. Bedat in Kemet becomes Abena in Akan. So Sekhmet or Sechimet, who governs Bedat, is also Asechima, who is also called Abena. Abena comes from Bedat in Kemet. Same title, 2 titles for the same goddess in Kemet, Egypt and Nubia. Same 2 titles for the same divinity in Akan. But she's also called Atobia, Atobia, and the root is Tobi. So when they call the mojo bag or the mojo hand also a Tobi hand or a Tobi talisman, that's because the goddess of menstruation, who is also called Atobia, she's the one that governs that shedding of the endometrium, the mojo bag that's literally inside of the woman, that red, blood bag, the mojo bag and so forth. She governs that process. Her name is Atobia. So the mojo bag, which is the moja bag, the blood bag, is also governed by the goddess Atobia, and it's also called a Tobi hand. So when you're reading books about hoodoo, and they say, well, so-and-so has a mojo bag or a mojo hand, because this is, talisman held in the hand and so forth, but it's a mojo bag or a mojo hand. And some will say, well, we also call it a Toby hand. Why do they call it a Toby hand? Because the goddess of menstruation, one of her titles is Atobia. She's the one who governs the endometrium being shed. She governs the moja bag inside of the womb of the woman. And she also governs the moja bag or mojo bag as a ritual talisman for ritual protection, defense, lymphatic system, and so forth. So when you look at and we go into that in detail, for example, in more detail. Let me show you this image. Okay. You look on our YouTube channel, this channel you're on right now, you'll see in the documentary film section, we have 2 documentary films. One of them is this one, Hoodoo, Akan Ancestry Religion in North America. And we go into more detail about the mojo, as well as the jackball and the haint spirits and the term hoodoo and KANKYE, which is conjure, which is the title of our film festival, and High John the Conqueror, or Johnny Conqueror, which is really Jama Kakaru, the gopher doctor with the gopher dust, the rabbit's foot talismans and so forth, and what divinities they're connected to. All of these different things we go into detail about in the hoodoo film. You can watch it for free. Now, secondly, you can also check this out, our other documentary film for free, which is right there on the channel. Which is Amarukafo Adebisa, African American Ancestral Divination. And what we did in this film, we addressed the voodoo tradition, which is Ewe in North America, the Juju tradition, which is Yoruba in North America, the Ngangan tradition, which is Fang, the Wanga tradition, which is Ovambo, part of the Gullah tradition and so forth, and the Hoodoo tradition, which is Akan. And 5 of us from different parts of the country, we talk about the various forms of divination that were preserved in our blood circles in North America. Mama Mawusia Shakir, she's out of Cincinnati. We went to Cincinnati to film her and so forth, and she talks about the Juju tradition, which is the Yoruba tradition preserved in North America. Rekit Kajara Niaya Nebihet, she's in Georgia. We went there to film her. She talked about the Ngangan tradition, or gang tradition, which is the Fang tradition of the people of Gabon and Cameroon, which is our ancestry, and how that was preserved in North America. Sechat Tut Wajet was out of Florida. She preserved the Wanga tradition in her family, which is part of the Gullah constellation, part of the Gullah Geechee corridor in the South and so forth. She talks about that tradition. We went to New Orleans, Voodoo Queen Kalinda Laveau, and she's talking about the Ewe tradition, which is the voodoo tradition in North America, how it was preserved in Louisiana over 100 years before the Haitian Revolution, before the Haitians migrated up in the early 1800s. 100 years before that, voodoo was already in Louisiana, brought directly from the Ewe, Aja and Ewe Empire directly into North America during the enslavement era. So she talks about the forms of divination that were preserved. And then, of course, myself, I talk about the Akan tradition, preserved in North America as the hoodoo tradition in North America, and the forms of divination, spiritual consultation, readings, and so forth that we practice, specifically the cockle shell divination using seashells or cockle shells, or nwora, as we call them in Akan, nwora, casting the shells in the water to do divination, to communicate with Yabosuman and Samanfo, the deities and ancestral spirits and so forth. So that's what that film is talking about. So these are just 2 of the films that will not only screen at our Conjure Film Festival in November, but also will have us as a panel discussion going into detail about what we were, details about things in the film you may not have seen. Even if you've seen the film and you appreciated the information, We're going to go further in detail to show you things that you may not have picked up, and then it'll be question and answer and so forth. We are working on our third documentary film that will be released on the weekend of the festival. It'll be a brand new screening, but we're also accepting films from other Black independent filmmakers in the Conjure tradition. The Conjure film genre is a coin that we termed, or a term that we coined, and it's specifically dealing with the forms of ancestral religion that were preserved by our people, specifically in North America, in the United States. When we were forced from Africa into the United States, those traditions, those are the ones we're highlighting. Of course, there are films about what people have done in Haiti and Brazil and Cuba and Guyana and all over the Caribbean and South America and so forth. But we're having a film festival focused on what we preserved here in North America in the United States. Hoodoo, Juju, Gullah, Geechee, which is the Golden Kisi tradition, the Grigri tradition, which is Mendi, the Juba tradition, which is the Congo tradition, the Juke tradition. We heard about juke joints and so forth. Juke comes from Njoko in the Igbo tradition. So the Igbo people from southeastern Nigeria, when they were forced into North America, they continued Igbo ancestral religion under the term Njoku, or Njuku, and later becoming Juke and so forth. So when you hear about jukes and juke joints and so forth, that's an Igbo term, and that actually references the Igbo ethnic group and their entire Igbo ancestral religion, priesthood and priestesshood and so forth. So we're going to be having a number of films dealing with all of that. So let me show you the website. And what we're doing right now, when you look on the website, the link is right here on the screen. And let me put that up. Let's switch it over right quick. Okay. So that's the KANKYE Films website. So you'll see some of the things. You see the flyers for the two. Of course, we're going to have a discussion about centers as well and how that has stimulated, interest in conjure itself. And KANKYE is the Akan word for conjure, to utter incantations, ka, to make the spirits come forward, che. So KANKYE is the combination of ka and che. That's in the Akan language. And we also show in the Medut Ntoro, the hieroglyphs of ancient Kemet, the same two terms with the same meanings, ka and che, which is kanche, conjure man, conjure woman, and so forth. When we said that in North America, I'm a conjure man, conjure woman, we weren't saying I'm a conjurer man and a conjurer woman. We were saying I'm a kanche man, a kanche woman. We're speaking our ancestral language. So since kanche, meaning conjure, ritual invocation, and so forth, is constant throughout all of our various expressions of ancestral religion, no matter what ethnic group we come from, that we preserved in North America. This is why we have the term as a catch-all term for all ancestral religion and ritual practices by Black people in North America. So when you look on the page, you'll see that information. We're going to talk about, centers and the hoodoo elements within it, as well as others as well. And on the page, you see we define what is the Conjure Film Festival about. And you look here, you'll see we talk about hoodoo and voodoo and juju and Gengai, Wanga, Grigri, Gullah, Geechee, Juba, Juke, and so forth. All the various traditions and more, and films in that genre. Documentaries, short films, and so forth. Again, we're going to have vendors, vegan food, a number of different things, discussions, panel discussions, all of these different things. So we talk about the genre itself and why we have this festival. Then we also define the word kanche cosmologically so we can understand exactly what it means. So you can read through that. We did an earlier broadcast on that. And these are traditions that when we held on to our traditions, they powered us to wage war against the whites and our offspring, force the end of enslavement, escape from plantations, burn down plantations, set up independent sovereign spaces. It led to independent Black towns being built. You hear about one of them in centers when he talks about Mound Bayou, Mississippi, and he was trying to get Sammy to move there and start doing music in Mound Bayou. When he said there was an all-black town built by people who were formerly enslaved and so forth, he's talking about Mound Bayou, Mississippi. But there are many towns. There were over a couple of hundred towns that we established during and after enslavement, where we escaped from the plantation, set up our own independent sovereign spaces, and defended them militarily. So, and that was powered by our adherence to ancestral religion. So we get into the political aspect of it as well as the root work and healing and herbal healing aspect of it as well. So you see all of this here. If you have a business, a Black-owned business, of course, on our page, on this section, you see it says advertise your business with us. You can submit your flyer and so forth. Half of a column, $25 ad, you can place your ad for your business, just like you see our poster here for the film festival, or a full column, $35 ad. This website is connected to our flagship website, which is odwirafo.com. We get on average, over the past 3 years, we've averaged 2.5 million hits on our flagship website every year for the past few years and so forth. So when people go to that website, they're going to come to KANKYE as well. So when you put an ad here, you're going to get some traffic. So your ad will be on the website for your business. As long as it's a Black-owned business and something productive for our community, we'll accept that. It will be on there from now all the way through October, through the festival, and so through November, through the festival, so you can check that out. We always incorporate some form of economic development and cultivation within our community for every project that we do, whether we're putting out films or books or whatever it is. We always have an element where we can incorporate the community, where you can participate and generate income for yourself as well. So you can place your ad there. But what we want to do is we're selling tickets, the early bird tickets, because what we have to do is secure the 365-seat theater. It's a state-of-the-art theater in the Black community and so forth. We have to put 25% down. So we're selling the early bird tickets now so we can put down the $1,200 for the 25%. And then once we do that, we can pay the other 75% off over the next couple of months, but we have to pay the 25% off within the next week or so. So we're selling the early bird tickets at a discount for that. So let's look at that page. So you can watch those 2 films for free. You can also download our books for free and so forth, learning more about the Conjure tradition and all these various things. So on the ticket section, so we have these early bird tickets, and you'll see they're $30 for the early bird. The regular price is going to be $40. So we have, out of 365 seats, we're going to have about 40. Hold on one second. Like 40 early bird tickets for that, set aside for that. And once people get those, then the other 325 will be sold at the regular price. So the early bird price is $30. One second. And you can get that now. The good thing about it is the way we have it connected through our Square website. So you can actually, if you make a purchase for $30 for a ticket, you can actually break that payment up into 4 interest-free payments or installments. And let's show you how to do that. So when you go to the page, you click purchase, it will take you to our Square site. Hold on one second. So that's the window, but this is the window it's going to take you to. And then you'll see, so we've done this in 2 ways. It's the regular purchase, but we also have it where you can enter your own amount because we started it out as a crowdfund effort. So if you want to, put in a different amount for a higher amount just to assist us with this, you can do that. But if you, add more, you can get more than one ticket, of course, obviously. So if you like to, you know, choose a higher amount, the more you contribute, the more number of tickets you can receive. But so that's why you see these different amounts here, because some people just wanted to contribute to the crowdfund effort, and they may contribute $100, and we'll give them, a number of tickets, and they just want to contribute to make sure support the event. So to make this thing happen, we don't receive corporate funds. We're not reaching out to white corporations. 100% Black funded. So the theater itself is over $5,000 to rent. The first 25% is $1,200 plus that we need to secure the space, but this is 100% Black funded. We're not seeking any corporate, sponsorships unless they are Black owned corporations. So that are doing work in the community. So when you see this, let's say you chose the $30 amount. And you click on $30. Let me see if it shows up right here. Yes, it's showing up. And when you see it says continue to payment, you have a couple of options. And this is the reason why we chose the Square platform specifically, because as you can see here, you can click 4 interest-free installments of $7.50. So instead of paying the full $30 up front, if you rather break it up into paying $7.50 today, and then a few weeks from now you pay another $7.50, and a few weeks after that $7.50, another few weeks after that another $7.50, then you can do it that way. We're just making it easier for our people. So some people just want to pay up front and just contribute to the effort to assist us. But if you rather break it up into 4 payments, that's perfectly fine, and it's easier for logistically easier for some people to do it that way, and we appreciate that. So we received our contract for the theater. Some of you who are on our email list, you saw this already. We sent this proposal. You saw the actual proposal and so forth. Let me put this back up. All right. So yeah, so some of you saw the proposal that we sent via email if you're on the email list. So they sent us the proposal. We were about to sign it, but we saw there was one element that they had inadvertently added an extra hour on, which made it an extra like $400 on top of this. So it was like $5,494 or something like that. And then we asked them to modify it. They modified it late on Friday night. We got it back. They dropped it down, so it's almost $400 less. So we $400 in savings and so forth. Any little bit of savings helps. So then there was a new amount for the 25%. It's like $1,270 plus and so forth. So once we sign the contract, we have like 72 hours to do the down payment. So this is why we're doing the early bird tickets. So we get a number of people to purchase tickets at the early bird price. Then we can cover the 25% within the 72-hour window. And then the other 75%, we don't have to do it in a 72-hour window. We have months to cover the other 75%. So that other, $3,000 plus, we can cover that by like June or July. So we have time for that. And, we can sell tickets by then, and all we have to do is sell 300 tickets. Most people who purchase a ticket, they usually purchase 2, one for themselves and one, for somebody else. So if it's 360 tickets, if we get 180 people, sometimes it's going to be, they may buy tickets for 2 or 3 people. But on average, if we get about 150 people, and some of them buy 1 ticket, some of them buy 3, some of them buy 2 and so forth, but about 150 people to purchase tickets to the event will fill up the entire place. But for the first week, this 72-hour period that's actually going to start tomorrow, because we have to wait and send the contract out signed tomorrow. So it's going to start tomorrow. So we got about 3 days until Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. By the end of the day, Thursday or Friday morning, we need to have this 25% ready. So that's why we did the early bird piece. So you see this is the KANKYE Films link on the bottom. And yes, that's what we wanted to let you all know about. We appreciate Yedase. We thank you to those who have already contributed. We had a couple of people contribute yesterday, Sunday, as well as Saturday. So that's getting us closer to the goal. So Yedase for that. Some people just made a contribution, but some people made a contribution. But we said if you make, a certain contribution, for example, here you have $30. If you made a $30 contribution, then of course you get a ticket. If you made a $60 contribution, you get 2 and so forth. So the more you contribute, the more tickets you receive. And you can let us know if you want the live stream version. Please let us know if you want the live stream version or the in-person version. Some people will be able to travel to DC. They're going to make a trip out of it. This is going to be an annual conference and, film festival. It's going to be a staple within the community. This is the first annual. So if you can make the trip to DC and you plan that out and so forth, and you come November 7th weekend, which is a few days before Veterans Day. So if you happen to be, if you're off on Veterans Day a few days later and you decide to just add a couple of vacation days in between and you just make that a extended vacation for yourself. Some people do that, but if you can't make it in person, but you want to attend via a private live stream link, you'll be able to see all the films, all the discussions, everything that's going on and so forth. So just let us know when you make your contribution. Do you want the live stream version or the in-person version for in-person attendance? So, and we're going to be doing more lives to go into some more detail about, different facets of hoodoo and juju and voodoo and wanga and Ngengan, just like we talk about on our, other pieces. One other, let me show you this as well. So we're not just, of course, we have the films. For those of you who are unaware, I've also published 31 books. One of the recent book that we published is our Odwirafo, True Historical Anthology. It's a 600-page book, 8.5 by 11. You look on the back cover here, 12 of the books that I published that deal with true historical cosmology and true history, cosmology, language, culture, identity, and so forth. The 12 books focused on that subject matter. We put them all together in one volume. We revised and expanded them since we've made trips to ancient Kemet and so forth, as well as Ghana and other places and so forth. So we expanded those, put them in the 600-page volume. So when you look on our page, and I'll put this in the chat room for you right now. On the Square site, that's the link right there. Let me show that to you. You can also order this book and you can do the same thing as far as splitting the payment up into 4 separate payments. So when you go on the Square site, you'll see not only the books, but you'll see our online courses that are archived and so forth, our certification courses, like to be certified as a meditation instructor, a Susu meditation instructor, learning how to read and write the Madut and Toro, the hieroglyphs and so forth, our group healing ritual series that we recently did. We have the archives there. You just give a donation for that. And we did animal totems, plant totems, mineral totems, human totems, and so forth. And we talked about the cosmology. And then we had a ritual Susu, ancient term for meditation afterwards. All of those archives are there. But this is the book, Odwirafo. It's $44 plus shipping, but when you choose Afterpay at checkout, you only have to pay $13 today. So whether you order the book or pay for the tickets, all of that's going to assist us in making the down payment for our, you know, for our for the theater this week. So our books, our courses, all of that, and we use a Square platform, so you can break those payments up if you don't if logistically it's not feasible to pay it all up front. So you'll see that we're just about to finish up our Per Imheru. We're going through the text of Ancient Kemet, the Book of Coming Forth by Day, misnomer the Book of the Dead, and we're going through that and studying that, because it's not only talking about cosmology, it's talking about holistic health, it talks about culture. When we study our ancient texts, it touches every aspect of our lives: spiritual cultivation, emotional balance, spiritual balance, mental balance, and so forth, family relations, all kinds of things that are found in these texts. So we're studying those texts in detail and showing what they mean and showing the comparison between ancestral culture and ancient Kemet, how it's preserved in North America in the Hoodoo, Juju, Voodoo traditions, as well as in Western, Central, and South Africa, Africa, and so forth. So we study language, culture, cosmology. We're examining these ancient texts point by point. So you can get in on that course. That's every Sunday at 11 a.m. The one sessions that you missed, you can simply, when you sign up for this course, and it's just donation based, it's not a specific cost. You can pay $5 if you want to. But you join in at 11 a.m. on Sundays. It's like a 90-minute to 2 hours and so forth. And the sessions that you've already missed for the past few weeks, we will send you the links to the archived videos for those so you can catch up and see what we've been studying. We started off with the Papyrus of Ani, so-called Book of the Dead, Book of Coming Forth by Day, Pert Imheru, Papyrus of Ani. Went through the invocation of Ra, the invocation of Al-Sar, the weighing of the heart, and so forth. Now we did the chapter of giving a mouth to Al-Sar and so forth, and now we're on the chapter 17, which is the book of coming into the Sekhet Hetep, divine field of peace and offerings, a major section of the text. That's what we're examining now. So whether you participate in the courses, get the archive courses so you can study on your own, purchase the early bird tickets or the book, whatever it is, any of that is going to assist us in the work we're doing. So let me know if you have any questions. You can post them in the chat room. That's what I wanted to share with you all tonight. Let me see. Make sure we didn't miss anything. Okay. But the main thing is we have this, film festival coming up. For those of you who may remember, we were going to do this a couple of years ago. As a matter of fact, during the pandemic, or right before, we were planning it right before the pandemic happened. We already had one of our documentary films out. We'd already been going around the country screening that documentary film, Amado Kafo Adebisa, African American Ancestral Divination. So we started looking at theaters, and we were about to have the first annual KANKYE, Conjure Film Festival. Then the pandemic hit, and all the movie theaters shut down for the next 2 years. And even after 2 years, they were still asking people for proof of a negative COVID test, and that was a deterrent for people because people weren't trying to take that vaccine, and they weren't trying to go and get these tests and having things put up their nose and all that stuff. So for the next couple of years, we weren't able to have it. But it's okay, because what we ended up doing is we produced our second documentary film. And so now we have two. And now we're working on the third one, which will be released on the weekend of the festival. You all will be the first ones to see it. It's part 2 of the Hoodoo film, because we're doing a Hoodoo film trilogy. And it's going to be dealing with Hoodoo ritual, the second part. The first one dealt with cosmology and identity. The second one's going to deal with the ritual. So we'll have 3 films in the Conjure genre on our side. But then we're going to have a number of films from other independent Black filmmakers. We've had people reach out already. They want to submit their films, and we're going to review them. If you have a film in the Conjure genre, or if you want to create a short film or a medium length film or a full feature, there's still time to do that. There's a process. It's right here on the website. When you look at the, hold on one second. This is the submissions section. And we give the details about what is the nature of the Conjure film genre, what kind of films we accept, only created by our people, about our people, and so forth, independent, Black owned, and so forth, talking about the authentic expressions of our ancestral religious practices. We review every film that is submitted. And so we have the entire application process and all of that. A second. Okay. So in the end, you'll have, you're going to have a number of great films, a lot of great discussions, a lot of information being exchanged, time to communicate, network with other forward-thinking, culturally grounded, focused African people, African Black people. So this is what we're going to be doing. So let me just go right back. Okay, so any questions before we log out? One second. All right. Okay, so I'll say we thank everyone for joining in with us. And Yabesha, we will meet again. And please go now to the website, purchase a ticket or two, help us get this, first down payment met so we can really start focusing on the logistics of the festival, getting those other films out there, getting those tickets sold, and we're going to have a great event. So Yerase, we thank you for tuning in, and Yabesha, we will meet again at that.